So we were just talking about con men and how they try to convince people of stuff and sound confident in what they're saying. And it's like in the Dhamma, it's nothing special. We're not selling anything. It's nothing really at all. So you can't make money off selling nothing. But why does that stuff work? Why does enlightenment guaranteed for a certain amount, $9.99, whatever? Why does that stuff work? You know, it's another form of it's like big pharma. It's like another form of selling drugs. You know, why do people drink and smoke cigarettes and do all kinds of drugs? And I've said this before, but they want to be comfortably numb from their dukkha they're experiencing. And you can still get that same comfortably numb feeling when you find somebody and you say, oh, they got all the right answers. And even more so when you're giving them money. See, I never understood it. That's always been like my red flag with spiritual bullshit stuff. It's like, if they are asking money of you, I mean, you got to know they're full of shit, right? Like, how do people not know that? You know, a real teacher. I mean, donations are one thing, you know what I mean? And especially unspoken donations. That's at least semi-respectable. And there's a fine line there. But a real teacher, if their students are in need, should giving to their students. Oh, you need some money here, you know. That's a real friend. A teacher is just a real friend. But if everybody knew those things, there wouldn't be any abusive relationships. There wouldn't be any bad friendships. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But fortunately for us, it doesn't matter. Whatever will be, will be. We're fine regardless of what's happening to other people or in society. So how you guys doing? Anybody got anything on their mind Dhamma-wise that they'd like to talk about, that they've been thinking about the past week? Any comments, concerns, questions, whatever? Nobody's in charge here. We're just friends chilling, hanging out. So
well, maybe I could jump in and just following on from what we began discussing, Dasa, like I've maybe a bit similar to you. I've got sort of a career I've chosen, route of 9-to-5 job, etc. So it's a creative career which brings lots of financial uncertainty and instability and stuff like that. So I don't know, just any reflections on that, I guess, on dealing with financial sort of stress, worried if you can pay the bills at the end of the month, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's going on at the moment, and I always look to turn to the Dharma in such circumstances. So any reflections on that from you or anyone else would be good. And I obviously I know that it's not just for people that don't have conventional careers. I know that we can all for various reasons feel under pressure financially, and I think even if we know, thanks to the Dharma, that it's not the most important thing, it can still be a bit of a weight sometimes, right, on our minds. And so yeah, just interested to know how people on this call deal with that and how the Dharma helps them.
Yeah. Good question, man. Money stuff. Anybody have anything? Any ideas on money stuff?
One of the things that comes to my mind when I hear him talk about money stuff and our present day situation and how society does all this and and all the stress that comes from it is that when we're practicing correctly, we can do things like look at what's happening in our experience. So if we have thoughts coming up, unpleasant feelings coming up about money and the future and what's going to happen and all of this stuff, and this starts to impact us physiologically, we're in fight or flight mode. We're in survival mode. But we don't need money to live. We don't need money to be okay. We don't need money to be happy. Unfortunately, when you say these things in the world, most people think you're an idiot. Most people think you're on the wrong track. Most people think you'll never do anything or make anything of yourself, or all these other things that they put on everyone else because of their own stuff that they were told. So the only suggestion that I really have insofar as how to deal with money-related stress is to remember to take a look at what's happening. Remember to make a change from the unwholesome, the lacking, the wanting, the victim, to the wholesome. And then to congratulate yourself for having remembered to look and to make that change, and to do that again and again and again. So really the answer is still to just keep practicing correctly. Because anybody that's in under any amount of financial stress is likely to have their decision-making impacted by that stress. They're likely to start to do unwholesome things that they're going to feel bad about later in order to feel okay right now, even though it doesn't really solve the root problem. So they're paying it forward. They're taking on a debt. So they're taking on probably a financial debt if they're in financial trouble, and they're also taking on a karmic debt because they're acting in the ways of the world. Later on, life is going to bite them for trying to hold stuff like that. One way or another, it's going to bite them because it's being held, and it's not theirs, and it's not them, and they're not letting it go. They're holding on to it, wanting it to be different. So if we can remember to look, see what's going on, see that everything is okay right now, even if we have financial stress, like Dhammarato always says, there's people in the world that don't work and they still eat. We can figure it out, and we can figure it out better and better and better if we remember to look at what's going on, remember to come out of the instincts, come out of the stories, come out of the victimhood, come out of that kind of attitude, and get ourselves back into a good, wholesome attitude. There's a reason that we may say wholesome because it hits so nice for us in this language, in this culture, but the word the Buddha used was skillful. That's another translation for it, for kusala, right? So I like wholesome. I think wholesome fits really well, and it really gives us an idea of what to point at, insofar as when we're kind of lacking in our aim. But skillful is another way to think about it. And when you're handling your money, you want to handle it skillfully. When you're handling your feelings and your perceptions about money, you certainly want to handle them skillfully. Because I've heard some people call money bio-survival tickets. And if you're missing your bio-survival tickets, all your instincts are going to flare up and they're going to start freaking you out. And you're going to have a bad time. You're going to be pretty dissatisfied. So remembering that just because something might happen doesn't mean you need to be in fight or flight mode right now. It doesn't mean you need to let go and let the instincts take over and do all the things that they're telling you to do, even if what they're telling you to do is just freak out more. Maybe you're not going to go rob somebody right now, but maybe you are. The way to avoid that, is to take a look at what's happening, to look at the unwholesome thoughts, to say, hey, that's a really good story, Mara. I really appreciate you coming by and telling me that story, but I'm busy right now. I'm busy taking long breaths in and out. I'm busy paying attention to my body. I'm busy paying attention to my feelings. I'm taking care of them. I've got pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings, neutral feelings. They're all changing. It's okay. It's okay. Just like everything else, this is going to change too, this financial situation, one way or another. And if you want it to change for whatever you feel is the better in the moment, most likely it's not going to happen that way if you're ramped up and freaked out and thinking about all this negative stuff and putting yourself further in the debt, the hole. So it's really nice. It's really easy because all we really have to do is talk out loud and remind each other and ourselves of what correct practice looks like. Remembering to look, remembering to make a change from the unwholesome to the wholesome, and remembering to congratulate ourselves for having made that change. And then doing that lather, rinse, repeat, doing it again and again and again.
Yeah. I like how you said busy. It reminds me of that old Christian saying, like the idle hand is the devil's playground.
Oh,
And
I
in a
like.
way, like keeping our mind hand busy with our breathing and relaxing, and the mind is a busybody. I heard Ajahn Chah in a book yesterday, Food for the Heart. It's a fucking awesome book. But he was saying the mind is like, or maybe it was a different book. I don't know. I'm reading a couple Ajahn Chah books, but he was saying the mind is like a crazy person. And he's like, if you saw a crazy person on the street saying something negative about you, at first you might take offense, but then if your buddy lets you know, like, hey man, he's not a normal guy saying shit to you. He's crazy. He's lost his mind. Don't take it personally. You'd be like, oh, it's just a crazy dude. I don't have to worry about what he's saying. And we can have that same relationship with our mind. Our identification with the self is when we're taking our mind to be ourself. And we take it so seriously, like, oh, I'm angry, I'm pissed, I have worth, I have value, and somebody's trying to take that away when they attack my character. But when you step back from the mind and you're like, no, it's allowed to be the crazy dude on the street holding up a sign about Jesus yelling to himself. Let it be. Don't go fucking with it. And it won't bother you. But if you take it personally, if you think that crazy guy on the street corner with the Jesus sign is like the Messiah, then you're in a world of hurt. But in regards to that money stuff, I always tell myself, like, whenever I read anything or think about something, I always come back to the question, like, well, what can I do about it? What's the action? I like saying the Dhamma practice is an action. Like, what's the action? And the action is, with the money situation, it depends on what your situation is in life. Some people want money, some people don't. Some people have a family and responsibilities. But basically, I always tell people, in the physical realm, all you can do, all you can control is trying. Oh, you need money because you have a family? Well, try to make some. Well, how do I do that? I don't know. We're all adults. We have to figure it out. And we'll either will or we won't. And if you do, good for you. If you don't figure it out, that's okay too. Whatever will be, will be. So I know Dhammarato doesn't like the word try, but I think he doesn't like it because he's talking about we actually have the ability to make a change. But this is kind of a different subject. This is more like, what can we do in the physical, strictly realm? Like, I need to do something. Well, all you could do is try, attempt to do it, and it either works out or it doesn't. And you base how much effort you want to put into it. But in the spiritual realm, there's no problems. It's not like the physical. It's like whatever happens in the physical, all we can do is try. But what happens in the ethereal and the spiritual realm within us, we're in complete control, so to speak. We don't have to depend on any physical things to make sure that we feel good. You know, we can feel good despite whatever's happening in the physical realm, despite whatever is happening in the mind. We can feel good. If the atoms, if the neurons in the mind, the chemicals have anger arising in there, we don't have to get attached to it. You know, we can let it be, just like the crazy dude. So you need to make money, just try. That's basically it. And if you don't want to try, that's okay too. And whatever will be, will be. I like how Ramana Maharshi used to tell his students, like, just go out into the world and whatever will be, will be. You know, you have no, he would say you have no choice in the matter. He was like a believer in like kind of a preordained destiny, you know, like you could try to do whatever you want. So you kind of have free will and you don't. But ultimately, whatever ends up happening to you is God's plan. So you have no reason to worry. Wherever you are, that's exactly where you should be. And I think when we let go of that trying to control things, in a manner of speaking, God's grace kind of shines upon us, or the Dhamma's grace or nature, whatever you want to call it. And things have a tendency not to work out perfect, but things have a tendency like to work out in a way that's good enough for us. Like God would clothe the birds and the flowers' dress was more beautiful than anything King Solomon could ever wear. That kind of type of mentality of like, whatever happens, it's God's will, it's fine. But anyways, anybody else have anything to say on money or anything?
Um, yeah, I want to say something. I think it's such a beautiful coincidence that you, because I read one of your Discord message, Dhammarato. It was something a bit. I mean, you mentioned something about, if people are thinking about saving the world so badly or something, rather than thinking, why don't you just do it? I mean, I'm paraphrasing how you say it, but it really got me thinking. And I think it's just a coincidence that you're talking about money thing, because I think it's kind of relevant in my situation. It's in like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm just thankful that you're talking about this, because it's really relevant. Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, we were talking about saving the world on Discord or something, and it's like a lot of people want to change the world, a lot of people want to save the world. And I was telling people, I always see these heated debates about, you got to save the world, you got to save the children, you got to save the animals. And I just always think to myself, okay, go do it. Like, why are you arguing about, why are you passionate about it? Like, go do it. If that's your passion, go do it. Like, nobody's stopping it. It's not so much a debate topic as opposed to like, I love flowers. I love flowers. Well, go pick flowers. Why are you telling me about flowers? You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like it's just the human habit of stuck in the thinking mind.
yeah,
There's a lot of fear around it, so it feels more comfortable and cozy to be in the thinking mind, but that causes a lot of dukkha.
yeah,
Same as the proliferation of thinking about money, rather than just go and do it. Like just try, like you said. The doing is the less difficult part.
yeah. Life can be scary. It can be. It doesn't have to be. But for a lot of people, it is scary. So they cling to life rafts like being altruistic or being activists or being this or being that or being Christians or being Buddhists or being whatever. They cling to various life rafts, and you could tell the more insecure they are in this life raft, the more people they want to hop on with them. Because I don't want to drown by myself. If I'm putting all my eggs in this basket, I want people to come with me. So fuck it, maybe they give me more confidence. We may all drown, but at least I won't be alone. Um, so that's a good red flag. Whenever you see somebody trying to convince you of anything and they're getting upset, it's like, why are you getting upset? Like, what difference does it make if I agree or disagree with you? Who gives a fuck? I meet people all the time, especially on sanghas and stuff, monks and stuff. Oh, I disagree with you. It's like, okay, now what? Disagree with me. I don't know. That's fine. I disagree with some stuff Dhammarato says. I agree with like 90% of what he says. But I'm not going to sit there and dwell on what we don't agree with. Maybe some days I will agree with him on that. Maybe I'll change my mind. I don't know. Who gives a shit? Like, that's like we were talking on another Discord. It's like the old Zen masters who give those koans, and the students try to answer the koans and shit. And we were talking about, I forget who I was talking about it with. I don't know if it was you, Ivan. I don't know who I was talking with.
Not
But
sure.
we were saying like it doesn't matter. The student's sitting there scratching his head trying to figure out like, what's the sound of one hand clapping or whatever the fuck. And like the master may give the correct answer to a student who gives a, a response. He might say, "Yeah, you're correct." And then another student comes in with the same question, same response as the last student, but the master says, "Oh no, you're wrong." Isn't that funny? It's like one student gives the exact same answer to the question. He's right. So what does that tell us? It's not dependent on the teacher. It's not about the answer getting it right or wrong. It's like, why are you before the teacher giving a fuck what he says? Like, use your own mind. Like, find your own happiness. Why are you depending on the teacher to say, yes, teacher, I'm enlightened. Yes, teacher, I'm this. I'm the king of France. I'm this, I'm this. Like Dhammarato always says, even though he admired Buddhadasa Bhikkhu, he said they still, even the Buddha, they stand on clay feet, meaning we're not them. You know, we can't just we have to put down the books and start reading the books between our mind and in our own heart. You know, how do we feel? Are we satisfied right here and now? That's all that matters, is the next breath, the next relaxed breath of satisfaction. If we have the next breath, what is there to worry about? Everything's fine here and now. Yeah, anybody else got anything they want to talk about?
I think I just
last thing you said, it's you just have to worry about the next breath. Because for me, Buddhism is often like the horror image sometimes of being, you know, completely dispassionate and separate from everything and anything. And I think this is maybe a stereotype that we have, or you know, a fear that comes up that when you practice this, you become closed off, walled off, very dispassionate with everything, and that this is a bad thing. But really, when all you have is the next breath, and the next breath is everything, and it's just enough. Really, it's freeing because you don't need anything. All you have everything, and all you have is the next breath, and that's all that matters. And yeah, that was something I thought about.
That's beautiful. Mm-hmm.
I think the void of passion comes from obviously incorrect practice, because if you take a look at these calls for any period of time, you'll see that so many individuals on these calls have like so much passion for the Dharma, and it's inspiring to see. So yeah, seems like the others are practicing wrong with their null and emotionless, those sorts of things. Even though they're Buddhist and Zen, they've slipped up with their practice. That's what I would say.
Yeah, there's like a difference between regular passion. I would like to call it like worldly passion. It's almost like temporary sense pleasure chasing. When like the noble passion, we're not, it's a different level, you know? It's not like, it goes beyond good and evil, you know? It's like when Ajahn Chah would say like the mind is like the snake and the mouth is the most dangerous part. And that's like dukkha, you know, and everybody's familiar with that, like the bad things in life, all this stuff, dissatisfaction. But they're not as safe with the tail. They think, oh, just grab the snake by the tail. And I used to think that that was when he would say the tail is joy. I thought it was like I would get confused, like, is it the noble joy? Is it this? But now that I'm like, I've read him a bit more, I'm realizing that he's talking about the tail is just when he said joy, he was referring to the worldly joy of the temporary sense pleasures. And then he would say, drop the snake altogether, go beyond good and evil. And then you get the noble sukha, you know, the nibbana, where the mind may be angry, but the one who knows, the observer in a way, is kind of hanging back, just chilling, like, oh, I'm not the mind, I'm the Buddha, you know? And but a lot of times we think like, oh, my mind is still a storm. Why? I've been practicing for years. Why is this happening? It's like, no, you're still associating with the mind. When the mind has the anger, when the mind has the frustration, the arahant's not going to get involved, and his body is never going to reflect what's going on in the mind. But when we associate, when we identify with the I, me, my mind, the body then will react and will create these negative habits, these bad sankharas, these bad kamas. But for the arahant, you don't have to react to any of that shit, because you're aware that you are not the mind, you are not the body. Everything's okay right here and now. The mind is just doing its natural biological thing, you know. And it's just this, like Ajahn Sumedho always say, like, it's just this. And that's easy to overlook, like, oh, he's just saying it's just this. That's just a Buddhist Dhamma thing he said. And like, yeah, we kind of have a grasp on what he's saying, but no, it really is just this moment. Can we be okay with this? It's like, since we were born, we think we have this big movie drama in our head of, no, it's not just this. I have a past and a future and all this drama and shit. But if we really reflect even on the past, we'll see that it's always only been just this. Even before we learned vocabulary words when we were young children, it was just exactly this. Always will be. Even death. This one, Oscar Wilde, I think, or somebody had a poem or something, and he was saying, like, everybody's afraid of death, but not me. He's like, I've gone trillions of years and before I was born without having a physical body, and it was lovely. I had no problems whatsoever. It's like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Anybody else have anything they want to say?
Yeah, does anybody here remember like a pre-birth experience or the undifferentiated realm kind of thing? Great, me neither.
I have to say, like, maybe I should stay agnostic on this topic, but I really don't believe in, rebirth and previous lives and stuff like this. I think rebirth is much more of a metaphorical thing. Like when you still cling to something, the I gets reborn and then you get reborn, and every time it's a new I and it's a new you, and that's rebirth. But I don't really believe in the metaphysical kind. But maybe you differ on this.
Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts on that rebirth in the metaphysical sense?
I mean, I completely agree, right? Like, I don't think people lived like a generation ago or something like that. But you could argue, like, you're being, like you mentioned, like you're being reborn every second because you're in a new moment every moment. So yeah. But it's not like you're being reborn. It's just like your you is transitioning into the next. This is this, like just this. I don't know if I explained that well, but I think you guys understand.
Yeah, the mundane view is more like into the metaphysical ideas of rebirth, and karma's like this mysterious machine that will get you in the sky and stuff like that. But like the supramundane version is more like what you're saying, like we're born and die every second in our mind moments, and karma isn't this scary, mysterious thing. It's like it's the outcomes of our bad habits, our cause and effect of our bad habits. If we're not remembering to look and change, we experience dukkha. And if we do remember to look and change, and we change with the right amount of effort, then we have sukha. And like Dhammarato says too, you're never going to get rid of suffering. It's like it's so funny. I saw this stupid TikTok that was from this Marvel movie, and it's of this bald chick in the Marvel movie, and I wanted to make fun of it at first when I saw it. I'm like, oh, she's gonna say some corny Buddhist thing, and she did, and it was fine. She was talking about how you can't beat a river into submission, and the river's like the mind. And I really liked that part. And it's probably like most academia and movies, they get a lot of good ideas from the ancient Eastern ways. But I liked how she said that, referred to the river as like you can't beat a river into submission. It's very good. I don't know, saying. And our mind is like that river, and we can't beat it into submission, but we can gently flow with it and get along to the other shore. Actually, maybe that dude knows who's in the army and stuff, but when you're actually in a raging river, You don't want to go against it. You don't want to try to fight against it. You do want to go with it. Try to put your feet forward, and you want to kind of go on a diagonal so you get to the other shore eventually. You don't just want to make a break for the shore. You kind of want to flow with the river and let it just gently glide you on a diagonal towards it till you eventually will reach the shore. And that's kind of like the mind. It's like, for the beginning Dhamma practitioners, you know, you're in the water, and you're gonna mess around with the mind. You're gonna mess around with like sila and goodness and compassion, and until you start getting the super mundane viewpoint correct, then you'll start going towards the shore. And once you reach the shore, find out that both good and evil, it's just all stuff to let go of. The whole mind is something that still exists in nature. The suffering will always be there, but you don't have to be connected to it. You can be safely dry under the shade on the shore. And I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, it's like when you, for example, have anxiety, you don't control your anxiety by saying, I don't want to have this, I'm going to stop having this. You're focusing more on the thing you don't want to have, so it gets bigger and bigger because you think more about it. When you instead say, okay, I'm anxious, I can be all right though, I just need to breathe, then you get calm, and then you tame the river more or less, but you don't force it. You can't force it. It's not how the mind works.
Yeah. Yeah, like when you're in a car, if you're like, I don't want to hit that stop sign, I don't want to hit that stop sign, and then you hit the stop sign. You know, it's like, say, I have anxiety. Oh, I got to get rid of this anxiety. I got to get rid of it. I can't possibly have anxiety. Like, instead, the right kind of wholesome speech would be like, it's okay to have anxiety. That's what the mind does. It's not me. Everything's okay right here, right now. Look at the breathing. You can still breathe. You're still fine. Everything's fine. And you relax. You know, that's how you avoid it. But saying, "Oh, I can't be anxious. I can't be angry. I can't get angry. I can't make a mistake. God forbid. If I make a mistake, I won't be a Buddha." You know, that's it's all bullshit. We're gonna make mistakes. We're humans. Part of being a human is having a crazy monkey mind. Part of being a human is making mistakes. If you want to be a Buddha statue, then you could sit there not talking and rot away in the forest. But we're humans. We live.
We also need to remember our minds evolved for a time that we don't live in right now. So, of course, our minds are always going to look things to be anxious for, because in evolution, if randomly thinking about the wolves that are tracking us, so we're going to move which cave we're staying in, that could save us in like a 1 in 100 chances, right? But because we live in this modern world, like they say, the tiger's not chasing us. There's no existential threat. Well, for the most part. That's looming over our heads anymore. So yeah, we can just breathe and understand that our neuroscience is outdated, and we can, with gentle practice, do better.
And we have to be, be also thankful for a monkey mind. Like, isn't practice the best when you notice, okay, I'm in my monkey mind, things are going here and there and there, and it's really bad, and then you're just like, oh, I can just practice, I can just breathe. And practice never feels so good as when you come out of the monkey mind, like when you're already happy and everything is going well and you're calm, like your practice is okay, it's nice. But when you have that monkey mind and you're like, and you see it, you see how much you're here and there and there and here, then practice is really good. And then you feel the tranquility and how good it feels to just shut it down for a second.
Right. It's our friend. Mara's our friend. It's not some enemy that we have to like chase after. It's like, it's our old friend, but we don't have to hang out with our old friend. We don't have to marry it. We don't have to marry Mara, but we can say hello and be civil as she passes by. You know? And that's in that way, like Dhammarato was saying, like suffering is never going to entirely go away, because like, and also like he was saying, suffering, all this stuff in the mind, this crazy monkey mind, it's part of the reason that the humans are able to survive. It's a tool. But if you take it personally, it becomes more than the baby dukkhas of this natural phenomenon. It becomes personal, like, oh, I'm really suffering. This is really bad. But when you step back and say, no, this is just a tool to help us. That's why it has anger. That's why it has an ego. Like that old saying, the ego makes a great servant, but a terrible master. You know, it's just a tool. And it's there, and it's there for reasons, for what's that shit? I forget the thing, but it's there, cause and effect. You know, things happen, therefore we have the mind from evolution and all this shit. To put it so poetically. Yes. All right, dudes. Probably going to wrap it up soon. If anybody else has any final words, now is the time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Great talk as always.
Thank you.
Yeah,
guys
thanks,
are
guys.
awesome.
Thank you. I'm with my kids, so I didn't really have too much to say today.
No, it's okay, Mike. You guys are awesome, dudes. Peace out,
Hard to think around
homies.
a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Thanks, everyone. Great answers. Great to be reminded of the Dharma, as always. So, yeah, loved it. Thank you.
You're
Have a good one,
awesome.
guys.
Bye, dudes.